Hi guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's April 26th, and Eli, we were just talking about going in March, and now we're at the end of April. But
We just
I'm
said it was
here, of
April.
course,
Now it's May. Are you kidding me? This is just
but, but of course, I'm here with Elijah Weintraub, who is our co-host and my partner. And Eli, how was your week?
it was a very busy week. I had enjoyed my week off doing a bunch of stuff. And I'll be talking about that later on throughout the show. But first, there's so much sports to talk about between
Yep.
the playoffs, the draft, baseball, and so much more. We can't wait to get into it just now.
Okay, and of course we always start with our monologue, and I'm just gonna bring up a point that Eli and I have talked about with our audience time and time again. Is just this mega production is what the NFL has become, and it's turned into, there were over 200,000 people at the NFL draft, and
In one
to
day,
put that,
keep in mind.
yeah, and to put that into perspective. I'll relate a story when I went to the draft back in, God, it had to be every bit of 25, possibly 30 years ago. It was held in the Paramount Theater in New York City. And, it's in
Yeah, of
the
course.
basement of Madison Square Garden. And, it wasn't as,
It's
certainly,
nothing.
there was only maybe 2,000 people there. And it wasn't as big a deal as it is today. And that was the chance. My brother and I had an opportunity, and we talked with Gil Brandt, who was the former general manager of the Dallas Cowboys and a very pivotal part of building the Dallas Cowboys. And yet we talked with him for about 2 hours while the draft was going on. It was really special. And we had an opportunity when the first round picks came off the stage. Me and my brother were there, and we shook hands with each and every one of the first round draft picks. Isn't that something?
Wow, that's awesome. Now you can't even
And
do
what?
that. You get
Yeah,
tackled down by security.
yeah. Now you can't do it, but that's my point. That's how big a production this has become, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're going to jump into the draft. So,
Yeah. But I want to give my
Eli,
thoughts real quick. But absolutely, over 300,000 fans came in with these past 2 days. This is pretty insane. But you know what's amazing though is how the community is so into this moment. And I was looking at like some of the videos on Twitter, Instagram, and on the YouTube and stuff. How the houses nearby the stadium were offering parking for $100 to use the bathroom as well. Part of the package deal to use the
oh,
bathroom. That was like pretty cool. It's like how the community is like joined together in this. It's such a unique moment. And yeah, this is something that no matter the sport, NHL, NBA, MLB, they cannot live up to the NFL and their draft. I don't know what is it. I think it's because it's such a long off season. Possibly you can make an argument there, but yeah, this is like it's amazing how everybody watches this draft, but nobody watches everybody else's draft. It just makes
yeah,
it's like weirdly mind blowing to say
it
the
is.
least.
It is.
We do have a couple comments though. In the meantime, Martin says the Felt Forum gym.
Yeah, I know it was the Felt Forum, Marty, but I thought they changed the name. Maybe it was the Felt Forum back then, but then I thought they changed the name to the Paramount Theater.
Yeah,
But
it was going back and
regardless,
forth. Yeah,
yeah, but
and
regard,
Andrew comments says, "Good morning, guys. Martin with the blast from the past."
yeah. Well, that was my blast from the past too. So that
Yeah.
was a long time ago, and boy, how it's changed. So Eli, take us into the draft and
The first thing
give me your thoughts.
the first thing I want to say is the fact that Tommy DeVito pretty much got fired at pick number 26 for the New York Giants. Let's just start with that real quick. I mean, I felt so heartbroken for Tommy DeVito. I know we're not going to talk about Cam. I just want to talk about how the Giants just pretty much fired Tommy DeVito at pick number 26 because they picked up the quarterback. They traded with the Houston Texans to get Jackson Dart, the quarterback from Mississippi. But their best pick of the night, and to me, one of the best picks of round one of the draft was Abdul Carter going to the New York Giants. I thought it was a phenomenal pick. A surprise to many people, Shador Sanders did not go yet. It's been 3 rounds of draft and he has not gone.
Yeah,
Maybe because the throwing is an issue or something, and maybe no team possibly needs him. Because I did like some research and stuff and to see which teams could potentially get him. And even with the 50-50s, you could say the Cowboys maybe 50-50, the Saints maybe 50-50, the Seahawks is a likely, but it's probably a no. The Cardinals at a 50-50. The Browns at a 50-50, but likely no. The Steelers at a maybe. But there's no other team I could think of that would need a quarterback and a person like Shador Sanders. And I think that was one of the biggest takeaways so far of the draft. I mean,
yeah. Well, let me touch on that too, because this is it's very intriguing, and you have to wonder if there's more to it. Because first and foremost, from the Giants' perspective, yes, I mean, I always said, and I said last week on the show, they have to draft a quarterback. But Abdul Carter was there for the taking. He could be one of the big
the
impact
next
players.
best.
You never know. But I think that was the right pick. And then I said, okay, but when are you going to get your quarterback, and who is that quarterback going to be? So before the first round ended, they did move up. And like you said, they took Jackson Dart, not Shador Sanders. And,
Yeah.
so that was their quarterback guy they wanted all along. They rolled the dice, but not that Jackson Dart should have been a number 3 pick. But, the Giants are in love with this guy. Dable thinks they can work with him. And, I thought it would be possible that the Giants might take Shador Sanders. And as you said, Eli, he's still on the board three rounds later. And you have to wonder, is there something behind the scenes? Because you listed a couple teams, and in particular, the New Orleans Saints. And when their chance came up in the second and the third round, they took, what was it, Tyler Sloak from Louisville, right?
Yeah.
So now
And they picked up
everyone's
Calvin
saying,
Banks Jr. in the first round.
yeah. So people are saying, what is the issue here with Shador Sanders? Is it a character issue? And again, this is all speculation, but you wouldn't have thought, about 100 people at least already taken in the draft, that he's still on the board for a team that needed a quarterback. So very, very, very strange.
Yeah, it was
Very
strange.
unique. I mean, I know we don't talk about drafting, draft kings and all that other nonsense percentages, but there was a 3% chance that he was going to still be available, after the first round. So it's a very, very strange thing. But anyway, there was some, like we talked about, the Titans, as expected.
We're going to get Cam Ward. Right.
Cam Ward was their guy all along. Yep.
To me, I think it's great. Congrats to Cam Ward. Good luck with the Titans. But I feel that we may see a bust. I don't think he's going to be, as the hype lives up to, I don't think he's going to be worthy of that number 1 spot, but we'll see. Maybe I like to be wrong. But I don't think that, considering the past and the history with number 1 picks, I don't see Cam Ward living up to the NFL standards potentially. That's my opinion.
It's quite possible, because as we see, like, I think he's always going to be compared to
Bryce Young.
No, the quarterback for Houston,
C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud, right? Who came out, had a remarkable rookie year.
Absolutely, and you could even say Jaden Daniels too.
Right, but
because they're both not number 1 picks.
Right, but C.J. Stroud didn't have a great second season, so you know that's always the roll of the dice with the quarterback. And there weren't a lot of surprises early on, but let's go through the first round.
Right.
And you look at
Travis Hunter. It was a surprise to me, and Jacksonville. I mean, it wasn't a surprise to me, but I think it was. I was surprised to see Jacksonville move up and switch with Cleveland, who had the number 2 pick. That was a little bit of a surprise to me how they switched it, but they really had faith in Travis Hunter and they got him. I like that pick for Jacksonville, but just surprised that they really wanted to just change some things around. They gave up a lot of draft picks and stuff for him. I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and you have to think, I mean, that was really a move that the Jaguars kind of needed to make. They needed, because right now the whole program and success is based on the success of Trevor Lawrence. And this gives them another opportunity, another weapon, or at least somebody who could take a distraction off Lawrence. And I'm sure our friend JR, probably listening to the show today, and we may have him on. I next week we can get his thoughts on that move up the board to take Travis Hunter. But yeah, the only thing, when you look at the Las Vegas Raiders took Ashton Genty. And of course, he had a great season. He was a Heisman finalist and so forth. I thought
Absolutely, you can't argue that.
Yeah, I thought the gem of the running back class would have been Travion Henderson, who ultimately did
Yeah,
go to the New England Patriots in the second round.
which
But
is a
Ginty's
surprise also.
yeah, Ginty's a kind of a smaller running back, but that was the need that they had. And you know, the first round kind of went very almost like I said, without the couple of the minor trades, all
It
the
was fast.
teams, all the teams filled the needs that they had, rather than we hear the old slogan, the best player available kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So
And I do got to
um,
give credit though. This year's draft to me felt fast. Like the teams were right on the dot. They were saying, "Oh, pick is in, pick is in. This is done." I was very impressed by that. Like if you remember last year's draft, we were just like, we waited a while to find out what was going to happen with the pick. We saw some trades happen.
yeah.
To me, we didn't see as many trades besides the Atlanta Falcons, the Giants, and the Jaguars in the first round. And they were right away on the money with the pick is in. The pick is in. Here's the pick.
Yep.
They're fast paced on it. So I gotta give credit to the NFL on that.
Well, let's talk about your Seattle Seahawks. You gotta
Yeah.
let's call him. Listen, this guy looks like he's a can't miss.
Oh yeah.
An offensive was it a guard or a tackle? A guard.
Yep.
But you never know in the NFL. You have to move around
Yeah.
positions. But
Absolutely.
he was a outstanding player at North Dakota State. So I think you talked about it a little bit before that one of the needs was an offensive lineman, and they went out and they got
And
it.
they got exactly that. And they are continuing to still do so. Yesterday, they picked up a tight end, Elijah Arario, at the 18th pick, as you will, in the second round. They've also picked up Nick Amenwari, which was a very good pick from Seattle. So they're doing a pretty good job. And they're doing exactly what the draft is supposed to do for Seattle. They needed to pick up players for the offensive line, and they're doing exactly that this time around.
And let's talk about your. I know you also have the 12th Horseshoe podcast with your friend
Yes.
Jack Russo. And
Yep.
how was he with his pick? They took.
He was happy about his pick. He was very happy about Tyler Warren, and I thought that was a great pick too. I joked around. They said, "Oh, you should have picked up a quarterback to help out with Anthony Richardson," because I don't trust Anthony Richardson too much there. But we'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. But yeah, he's happy about that, and an excellent first round of the NFL draft indeed. And even the second round was a success. And now some players I want to talk about that were not from the draft, but did get some re-signings and stuff. Before the draft, the Titans signed former Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett to a deal. Kirby Joseph and the Lions signed a 4-year, $86 million deal to become the highest paid safety in the league. And Eagles extend Cam Jorgen's contract to a 4-year, $68 million deal. That all happened there. That was pretty much it for the draft. And obviously, Atlanta, I was shocked that they gave up a lot of draft picks to get James Pierce Jr. Laid right after the Giants at the 27th pick.
Yeah. And there was one pick in particular because you could look at this. The Pittsburgh Steelers were a very intriguing team to me
Yes.
going into the draft, and
because they needed a quarterback.
right, and yet they passed on a quarterback and they took a defensive lineman from was it Oregon, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Derek Harmon, which, by the way, a very, very sad story with Derek Harmon. His mom passed away just a couple hours after he was selected, the number one pick.
Oh man!
So,
Wow.
I mean, it's almost like she hung in there until she was sick. And she got her wish, and that was kind of a sad
story, but
yeah,
at least she got to see the moment, though.
she did. Yeah.
And also, a surprise to the Saints, because we already know that Derek Carr, he's suffering that injury right now with the Saints. So now the question is, why didn't they get a quarterback? Are they going to get somebody else? And now you got to keep in mind, you have Aaron Rodgers still available. We're going to still say his name because he's still available technically. You could say, if you really want him, Tommy DeVito is now available because the Giants picked up Jackson Dart. So you only need 3 quarterbacks. So if you want Tommy DeVito, he's technically available. But you don't have too many guys left. You have George Sanders obviously in the draft, but the question is, do the Steelers or the Saints pick up a quarterback in today's set of the draft, or do they get somebody else for when August comes around for the preseason?
Yeah, and everybody thought the right fit was Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders. I mean, the Saints did draft a quarterback. They did draft Tyler Slow from Louisville. But when you look at it, he's 26 years old. and he hasn't played a lot of college football games. So
That's
that's
true.
kind of
That's kind
that
of a
makes
scary situation.
yeah, but that makes you wonder, like what is going on with Shedeur Sanders that wasn't the pick instead, you
We
know,
went with somebody else like that.
yeah,
And
crazy.
what are they thinking non-draft wise, or what are they thinking about players currently in the league? The free agents, the players currently on the team that they're trying to like get some trades worked out with. Like that's
Yeah,
another question as well.
yeah, and there's still guys out there like Carson Wentz or um,
Tons of
Kirk
guys.
Kirk Cousins, whatever. Yeah,
Aaron
so
Rodgers, Tommy DeVito now. I just, I'll be honest with you. I felt bad for the poor guy. He got fired after 26 pick of the draft. And
okay,
what
well,
was
but
sad
he's
too is they have two quarterbacks though, Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what are we doing here? Like, is this really what you want to do here? Like,
well. Listen, they knew that was a stopgap, and unless they end up getting the quarterback they wanted, which they did.
which
We
they
know
did,
Russell Wilson is not the Russell Wilson of old. We
as he
know
once he
James,
was,
and we know Jameis Winston is
isn't
an
Jameis
adequate.
Winston, right?
Yeah, he's an adequate quarterback, but not your future. So that's why I was pleased that the Giants not only got Carter to solidify the defense, but they also got their quarterback because I thought if they didn't draft the quarterback, that this was going to set the franchise back another 3 years because
Oh
that's how
yeah,
long it takes for a guy to develop. So
yeah.
very, very interesting
Very interesting. And by the
draft.
way, keep in mind, Russell Wilson will be the starter for the Giants. Ryan Dable did announce on draft night. So that is going to be your week one starter, as long as everything goes well and according to plan.
Yep. So
There's the
like I
draft. There's
said,
the football.
the
That's
money,
the NFL draft for you.
the money maker,
Of
right?
course. It's all about the football. By the way, the NFL drafts for rounds 4 to 7 is today on ABC, ESPN, and NFL Network, beginning at 1 o'clock today. I believe 12, maybe 12 or 1 o'clock. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I said it was a rousing success for the NFL.
As usual.
The presentation was good. It looked like and it wasn't great conditions. It was Green Bay, so
It
people
was
stood out
cold,
there in the cold and the rain. It didn't
cold and rain.
matter.
Yeah, I felt bad for those announcers. Freezing up there. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Eli.
Let's head to the NHL.
Go ahead. Your Devils won last night, so they're back
Yeah,
in the
they
mix.
did. They're in the mix. So let's get to the scores last night. The Canadiens defeated the Capitals 6-3 last night. They get their first win of the series. The Devils also got their first win of the series after defeating the Hurricanes in double overtime 3-2. And the Oilers defeated the Kings 2-1. They get a win in their series. Everybody pretty much is now at 2-1. Except for the Lightning Panthers series. The Panthers have the Lightning with the lead 2-0 in that series. Yeah, 4
Yeah.
games today on TBS. It'll be the Panthers and the Lightning from Florida at 1 o'clock on TBS, followed by the Golden Knights and the Wild from Minnesota at 4 o'clock on TBS. The Maple Leafs can sweep the Senators tonight. They have that game at 7 p.m. on TBS. They lead 3-0 on that series from Ottawa. That game will be tonight. The Stars take on the Avalanche from Colorado at 9:30 on TBS, and that's your games today. 4 more tomorrow, including the Devils at 3:30 over on TBS.
Well, when you talk about the NHL playoffs, I've been watching some of the Capitals Canadians thing. Obviously, people want to see Ovechkin as he winds down his career. But this
Yeah, to
is
go
a
win in overtime.
this is a nasty series. These two teams.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be
there
a
was
very good tight series.
but there was a big melee in the game last night, and of course Tom Wilson front and center for the Capitals.
As usual.
Yeah, but these guys, this is going to be quite a battle. This is and listen, Eli, I'll give you credit, my friend, because you keep bringing up who won the. Well, Washington almost won the President's Cup, as you mentioned. Winnipeg.
Winnipeg did win, but remember this series is still early though. Although the Blues have the 2-1 lead, it's early. Let's keep. Winnipeg does have the lead, 2-1 over the Blues right now.
Yeah,
so it's early.
In a 7-game series, I always thought that Game 4 was the pivotal because one team is going to be up 2-1,
but it's
and
when you have a
one more victory makes it 3-1, which is almost insurmountable in sports. But we're about two games to one in most of the series. I think Maple Leafs, usually a first round knockout.
They're likely going to sweep.
Yeah, they're up 3-0. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple comments coming in. Eric says, "Good morning to all. Happy Saturday." Good morning, Eric. And Mike Garvey, go Rangers. There we go. That's horrible.
Well, yeah, that is a note that we needed to bring up because we talked a little bit about it.
Go Devils.
They won they won the President's Cup last year. This year they didn't make the playoffs, and guess what? The head
Peter
coach
Laviolette.
gets fired. Peter Laviolette was on top of the world last year, and now he's out of a job because
he's top of the world, looking for another team.
And I know guys like Ranger fans like Jim Walsh and so forth are thinking the same thing. Does Peter Laviolette deserve all of the blame? Does the players? Does the general manager for the trades, Chris Drury, have to be accountable as well? But if you're the boss, you never fire yourself. So he had to take somebody down, and he took Laviolette, who's a Stanley Cup winning coach. Yes, he's been around five or six different teams, but yeah, that was going to be one of my random points of interest, but I might as well bring it up during the hockey section.
We also have a couple other notes too. Kraken fired coach Dan Blizem as their head coach. That was fired this week, and the Islanders have not renewed Lou Lamoriello's contract as president and general manager, so he is out at the Islanders.
And listen,
and go Devils. Mike Harvey.
Lou Lamoriello has quite a resume in this league. So
yes, he does.
Yeah, he was kind of the architect for the Devils championship teams. And, it looked like a couple of years ago, he made all the right moves. The Islanders were a real formidable team, went deep into the playoffs, and now they're back to mediocrity. So another change there. You have to wonder, what does that mean for Patrick Waugh as the head coach or something? So that'll be dependent on who they bring in to run the team and whether Patrick Waugh remains the head coach.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's head over to the NBA. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
All right. Well, last night, Orlando defeated Boston 95-93. Milwaukee defeated Indiana 117-101. And Minnesota took the victory over the Lakers 116-104. Today, the Oklahoma City Thunder can sweep the Grizzlies at 3:30 p.m. They're on TNT. They can sweep that series right there and done. The Cavaliers hold a 2-0 lead right now over Miami. Their game is today at 1 o'clock on TNT. And the Clippers lead the series over the Denver. I put Broncos here. It's the Denver Nuggets on 2-1 at 6 o'clock on TNT. That game is. And the Rockets take on Golden State with that series tied at 1 tonight at 8:30 on ABC.
Yeah. And if you just look at it right now, the Knicks will take care of their series. It's not going to be easy, so that may go 6 games. But
yeah,
I guess the biggest question, but one of the questions I would raise is, you still have Nikolai Jokic, is maybe, one of the top 2-3 players in the league. And, they're just 2 years removed from a championship, and they basically still have almost the same cast. And yet, they were almost virtually a 500 team through the year. And, they're down 2-1 to the Clippers. And that's going to be, a series, always when something like that happens. Remember, they fired their head coach with a week left in the regular season. So maybe there's more problems there than we know about.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting.
And one other note.
Also, what, Eli? We're also getting to see, I think the one good thing about the NBA is the up and coming talent, right? The Pablo Rancheros and the Cade Cunninghams, and they're on full display here, and they're living up to the hype. So, when you have the foundation for guys like that, and they're young, Banchero's not even 22 years old yet, and he might be 22, but these are the future stars. And yet, I know the NBA is dying to have LeBron James go to the finals.
You know what's going to be somehow fixed and go to Game 7 so they could see LeBron James? Absolutely. You know that. But something that's not fixed, though, in another news story that's happening, the Atlanta Hawks have fired a GM, Landry Fields. So that was a surprise there over on the
so the NBA playoffs are underway. And like I said, this is just the first of a 4 7 game series that the ultimate champion is going to have to play. And
Ton of sports available, by the way.
yeah, right.
Whether it's on the NHL, NBA, and you have the draft today as well. You have a lot to watch. But another sport we'll talk about real quick, MLB. They're heating up right now. And now the Mets are the front runners in the National League, off to a great record right now, 18-8. And the Tigers on the American League side of things, 15-10. And the Yankees, well, they got they're falling behind, I guess you could say. 15-11,
Well, listen,
got a couple losses.
yeah, I
It's
mean
early on.
they are sitting atop the American League East right now, with a 15-11 record, and Boston is 14-13. And you look at a couple things, and I talk about it a lot with my Yankee fans, Derek and Frankie Pisani. You look at a couple of players on this list, and I know some people have a problem. Excuse me, with Anthony Volpe, who's excuse me, allergies
Go
here.
for it. No worries. It's horrible. I know. Don't worry.
Yeah, he's going
Thankfully, the rain
under,
cleared it all away.
but he's hitting under 200, and Corey Bellinger, he's hitting under 200.
Yeah.
So, and one of the biggest disappointments, right? They got Devin
Juan
Williams.
Soto? No.
Well, for the Mets, yes, but for the Yankees, I think Devin Williams, who's supposed to be the best closer in baseball, is just
He's
getting
not. Right.
He's getting rocked. I mean, constantly. So, but listen, while those guys, Volpe and them, are struggling, but is Volpe the long-term answer? A lot of people say he is, because he was their prized possession. Anytime trade talks came up, he was do not even discuss. He's not available. But if you look at his numbers, he hit 243 his first year. He hit like 220 last year, and right now he's under 200. I think he's a very good fielder. But is he the next Derek Jeter? I think obviously the short-term answer is
no.
No.
Absolutely not. No. But yeah.
There was a big match yesterday. Big pitching matchup with Yamamoto against Paul Skeens and the Pirates and the Dodgers. And the hype that Paul Skeens has generated, he's lived up to it. He is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he shut him down yesterday. He was striking out all the top players for the Dodgers, and Ohtani included. I mean, the Dodgers will be fine. Pittsburgh Steelers, Pittsburgh Pirates, all they have right now really is Paul Skeens. But it's great to see. I love to watch this kid pitch. He's going to be a Cy Young Award winner sooner than later. But when you look at the franchise itself, can you build around that guy? Well, we've talked about it time and time again with the payroll and free agency, and it's just a market that doesn't have that money. So, I mean, I'm sure Skeens is under contract for a few years.
Yeah.
But you got some time to build around him, because you do have a potential Cy Young Award winner, multiple Cy Young Award winners, I would think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but you brought up a good point, Eli, about the Mets, that they're winning without Juan Soto being Juan Soto.
And what did I say early on? I said, watch this happen with the Yankees. He's going to get overpaid, not going to play at his best performance. And I also said one thing. I said, it's going to work out for the Yankees. And so far, it's working out for the Yankees. I mean, and for the Mets, they're winning right now. Yeah, they're, they got a good record and stuff, but it's not Juan Soto's impact that's leading them to have this record. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah. I mean, the guy will come around.
He will, and especially mid-season and definitely for the postseason. Absolutely, because we know it's a long roller coaster ride in the MLB as always. And we're now, I guess you could say, 1 full month into baseball, as we're now nearing May, and next week's show will be in May.
Right, and the Mets will improve, I guess, as well, because Alvarez is coming back, the young catcher that they have. So things look good for them. And right now, for the Yankees, but if you look at their lineup, you got to say, they're kind of piecemealing it together. They don't have outside of Judge. And Chisholm's hitting a lot, but Goldschmidt's performed so far. But other than that, I mean, we're still trying to figure out whether Jason Dominguez is going to be that prospect that they had. He's getting his shot. Cabrera and those young guys trying to make a name for themselves. So yes, as you said, Eli, we still only got about 135 games left, so it's a long season.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's time for some random points.
Okay.
All right, and that is sponsored by, of course, Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut.
Yep. And I don't know if we mentioned our sponsor for the Mono-Logue was Coriano Trucking. If I didn't,
I don't know if we did, but yeah, it is sponsored by Coriano Trucking. That was the Mono-Logue, and now it's Lynch Toyota, Manchester, Connecticut.
And like I said, I had a nice time visiting the Coriano estate up in Cortland, New York. And
did you fish?
Yeah, great family. Great.
Did you fish out there or have fun?
No. We did play. I did manage to play 9 holes of golf, and like I could say, if I were to give a fair assessment of my golf game,
Tiger Woods,
no good. No.
Try to be nice. They're going to give you Tiger Woods status here.
I'm an honest guy. If you're an honest golfer, you judge yourself on your score, and I had a couple of good moments, but I had probably more bad moments. So my golf game is in disarray right now, to say the least.
I was being nice. I was trying to give you Tiger Woods status here, but I guess.
All right, Eli, give us some random points.
All right, we'll start off with this. Premier League soccer is happening right now. Chelsea defeated Everton this morning 1-0. There are more games happening now. You can catch most of them on Peacock, and I believe one more will be happening today on USA. We know Diego talked about it last week on the show, so soccer is heating up in the mix right now. Some other points, if you're interested and if you don't want to watch NHL and NBA tonight, the Savannah Bananas are on ESPN2 tonight. They're on ESPN2, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus tonight at 7 o'clock as they have a game at Clemson University as part of the new package. It'll be the first game on ESPN tonight. So ESPN2, you can catch that game if you're bored and you have nothing else to watch.
Well, no, you and I talked about what a phenomenon this is.
I might have to watch it. I might have to forget about the NHL and NBA and watch the Savannah Bananas and see what they do on ESPN.
No question. After that 60 Minutes piece, I'm actually intrigued. I really want to see.
So if you're interested, tonight at 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Meanwhile, the NFL schedule release show will be on Wednesday, May 14th. That was announced on the draft on Thursday. Robert Griffin III has landed a job with Fox Sports as its number 2 college football analyst. Will not be at the number 1 spot, but will be at number 2. So he did land a good job there following his leave with ESPN. Yeah. Rutgers freshman A.C. Bailey and Cooper Flagg have both declared for the 2025 NBA draft officially.
Yeah, I think we both saw that coming. We know Cooper Flagg was certainly the number 1 prospect, and he did declare for the draft. So
is Ace Bailey too.
Yeah, he was.
Rutgers.
Isn't that the second Rutgers guy? Who's the other Rutgers guy that they had? Was one of the top 2 potential.
What wasn't not the Bosco guy? No.
Harper.
Yeah, no. I know Harper, but no, I don't think he's not top though.
Yeah, there's somebody else on Rutgers, but they had two guys.
If you guys know, let us know in the comments. So we'll be happy to find out. But and that's what I have for random points. But I got some stuff for TV and show picks, so we'll get that in a second. So go ahead, Jim.
All right, a couple of quick things. So yesterday I also read that Tony Oliva and Ken Herbeck, both kind of considered Minnesota Twins. Tony Oliva spent his entire 13-year career. He was Rookie of the Year, 3-time batting title winner, 86 years old, but he suffered a stroke. And literally the same day, Ken Herbeck, who was pivotal in the two World Series championships that Minnesota has, also suffered a stroke. These were kind of considered minor medical issues, but very ironic. But they both been, lifetime Minnesota Twins and a pivotal part of them. So we wish them the best. Both of them have their numbers retired. And I don't know why, if Tony Oliva is not in the Hall of Fame, someone will have to explain that to me, but I don't know if he is.
Well, we have a lot of questions that still need to be answered. Absolutely.
Right. And there was actually a documentary that I saw, and I was a little reluctant to watch it. It's called Full Swing. It's on Netflix. It's about the PGA Tour. And so I decided, let me just check this out. And my feelings on these documentaries sometimes, a lot of it could be considered reality TV. I
And some
mean,
of it is good.
yeah, but like if you and I were having a conversation with
Absolutely.
and that's without a camera, I think the conversation would be different if somebody was filming us, you know.
Right. 100%.
Right.
Because
But
when you talk something off of camera or off of the phones or off of something, this conversation could turn either ugly, private, or something else. But when you're
right,
on the camera, and I 100% see what you're saying. When you're on camera, there are certain things you can and cannot say. And that's conversation that we don't bring up on the show. And
yeah.
not just our show, or whenever on a camera as well. That's just
But
the bottom line.
yeah, I did manage to watch like the first 5 episodes, and it's kind of a profile of guys like the relationship with Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, and then they did one on Ian Poulter, and I'll give Netflix credit. They asked point blank because the last episode was on Colin Morikawa and Dustin Johnson, so of
Mhm.
course some of the conversations had to revolve around live golf and the
Absolutely.
fact that they went there. And it appeared to me that Dustin Johnson had no regrets whatsoever. Like it was almost, I took it. He goes, "Hey, I've had success on the PGA Tour. Somebody's offering me $100 million. I'm taking it, regardless of the political implications. And you know how I feel. I will never support live golf. Those guys that went and played live golf are no longer my favorite players to watch, even though I enjoyed them for years. So it was very interesting to see that these guys really don't have the Brooks Koepkas. They don't have any regrets about taking the money from a
Yeah.
government that is, let's say questionable at the very, very least.
That's fair enough.
So
Yeah.
I guess, until you and I listen, someday somebody, ESPN or TNT, is going to come to us and say, Eli and Jim, we want you on our network, and are we going to take the
Absolutely.
highest bidder, or are we going to go to the platform that we think we could have more success at? So that's the
Absolutely.
parallel I put in with that.
Great point. And Andrew comments, he says Dylan Harper. So we were right about that. Dylan Harper.
Okay, yeah.
I was not certain of it, but figured it was from
Well,
from
I
Boston.
figured Andrew Carolyn would get it because his daughter is a Rutgers grad and he's a sports guy, so he knows everything about Rutgers.
Well, thank you, Andrew.
Of course. Okay, Eli. That's all I got. Did we mention our random points are sponsored by Vital Selections, or
Well, now
that's
that
our
is for our next segment here, the
okay?
entertainment and photo segment. That's sponsored by Vital Selections. You could scan that QR code to learn more. So I'll start, I guess, first. Celebrity Wheel of Fortune returns with Pat Sajak as host this Wednesday, 8 o'clock on ABC. So I hope you watch that. That'll be fun. And considering all that has happened with the passing of Pope Francis, which we'll talk about in our notable passings, I think it's a good time for everybody to watch the movie Conclave. Although we have not, although it's some controversial stuff and some are false stuff, some of it is accurate. So you might want to take a look and watch that. That's Conclave of the movie that just came out in theaters a couple months ago and
Well,
won some Oscars.
that's kind of funny that you just brought that up because I actually mentioned this morning. I said, you know what? Considering the events of the past week,
Yeah.
maybe I will watch that movie.
Okay.
I will.
And the last one is actually I'll bring this up during the photo because I got a photo that will relate to what I'm going to bring up for the next one. So I'll go out
Okay,
to that later.
fair enough. So I was kind of going back on my movie recommendations, and I looked back and I said, I can't believe I never brought up a recommendation, but Apollo 13.
Yes, you
Right.
brought it up. Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
I
Apollo
did?
13. Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay though because it's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
I mean,
And
Tom Hanks, of course, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, one of my favorite movies. And we talked
Absolutely.
about
It's a
Tom
real
Hanks
fantastic
last week.
movie.
I mean, Tom Hanks is killing it. He did the Americas thing,
Of
and
course. And
and by
now
the
he's in
way,
Toy Story 5. He
right.
announced, so that's fantastic.
But by the way, what we talked about, we recommended the Americas, that program that NBC showed,
Yep.
right? This past Sunday was the final episode was
The
how
making of
they
the show.
actually
Yeah.
make the production, and it was just amazing. I mean, the danger that these production crews
Oh
had
yeah.
to endure to
To
get the
get that
footage
piece of
that
film.
they did is just absolutely amazing and commendable. And like I said,
Bravo to NBC.
yeah, no question. They nailed it. That was one of the best nature shows I have ever seen, and it covers the continent that both you and I and our loyal listeners are sitting on right now.
America. And but I think to have Tom Hanks narrate it, spot on by NBC. Spot on.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Yeah. Let's get to some photos though.
Okay, Eli. So, listen, first and foremost, I wanted to say thank you to Diego Cruz for coming on and trying to educate the uneducated in the world of soccer because, like I said, I learned a lot from him. He was absolutely articulate and well done for him, and I thank him. So, I happened to be in New York City the other day, and well beknownst to me, unbeknownst to me, there was a Pele soccer store. And that was the reason I found it intriguing is because Diego listed his top 5 greatest soccer players of all time, and Pele was number 1 on that list. So I went into the store, took this picture, and that's him in his Cosmos uniform. And as I mentioned, I went to see the Cosmos, and I had the fortunate opportunity to see Pele play before the end of his career. He was kind of at the end of it anyway, but I got opportunities in soccer to see the number 1 player.
That's awesome.
I had opportunities in hockey to see the number 1 player, Wayne Gretzky. I had opportunities to see maybe arguably one of the best football players in Tom Brady. In basketball, I will say I never had an opportunity to see Michael Jordan, who I consider to be the greatest player of all time.
All right. Here's the next one.
All right. Now, this is a picture. Had an opportunity to go to see the Broadway play Glengarry Glen Ross. And if you've seen the movie, it's very, very, to the point, almost took the whole script, but it was an all-star cast with Bill Burr and Bob Odenkirk and Kieran Culkin and Michael McKean, and it was outstanding. My one
critique
of it all, if you watch the movie, there was like a 8-minute segment of Alec Baldwin, which I thought was absolutely critical to the movie. And but that part was not depicted in the Broadway play, which I was in the play.
I think there's a reason. I think if it's because the whole allegation with the shooting and everything, if it wasn't for the shooting, it possibly would have been in there.
Yeah, I didn't give that thought, but yeah, maybe.
I think that's how I look at it. I think if it wasn't for that shooting or anything, I think everything would have been okay. Yeah, I think you may have seen it. That's how I look at it.
It was funny, it was entertaining, but I thought that was a key component that they should have somehow worked into the Broadway show.
Yeah, I mean that's what I thought of when I first think of Alec Baldwin was the shooting, and I think that's why certain things aren't the same. Why he's no longer Trump on SNL, and why he's no longer and that part wasn't in that Broadway particular play. I think that had a big impact. Maybe they didn't want to leave or show his legacy, or maybe they didn't want somebody else to replace him. I don't know what the reason is, but could be a reason.
Yeah, and don't ask me to defend him, but he was vindicated, and I didn't hold him responsible. There was the crew that handed him a device that was going to be used in the thing. So I'm glad that he didn't face the charges. It was a tragic event, but anyway. And I just listen, Eli. You know that I love springtime in
absolutely
in Northeast, and as you can see, you got some flowers coming up. Those will be irises, but we got my tulips and everything else comes up. So it's an important part of the change of seasons and what people miss the most about the Northeast when they move south or move to the west.
Well, I got 2 photos for me, and then I'm going to go right off to the some comments that we have coming in. Well, as you know, I wear many caps, so this was me a Good Friday during the service. I'm altar serving. I usually do that every Sunday, and of course during Holy Week. So this is just part of my many caps that I wear as a person. And
Very
also,
good.
This week I had the opportunity to go see Live with Kelly and Mark on Tuesday. So obviously watch Live with Kelly and Mark. But you know what the funny thing was? If you saw my Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. Every studio audience member gets a wristband or like a ticket number, and if you win a prize after the trip giveaway for the caller. and it so happened I got picked to win. So I end up winning an air fryer on the show.
Hey,
It has not come in yet, but I won an air fryer, and the video is on my Instagram and Facebook page, so you can check it out there. But yeah, so I got like my
excellent.
little TV time and also won an air fryer, so that's pretty
Ah,
cool.
those were great pictures. But let me remind you, don't put your Pop Tarts in an air fryer.
Okay.
Because the name indicates it's pop, meaning it comes
It
out of the
pops out
toaster.
of the toaster, of course. All right. It has not come in yet, but I will let you know when the air fryer does come in. And
Yeah.
I did have a conversation with Mark during the commercial. That was pretty cool. The host of the
Oh,
show.
okay.
So that was pretty cool. He got to talk to me during the commercial. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Very good. Boy, look at us. We're meeting celebrities. I met
Yeah.
Klecko, and you're
Yeah.
meeting Consuelos. And
Yeah,
wow.
it's great, right? We do have a couple comments here. Alvin says hello, gives a little wave.
You
Hello,
know what?
Alvin.
And I wanted it's very ironic that we got that comment from Alvin
Yeah.
today of all things, and I'll explain that in a little bit.
Yeah,
But
let me get the rest of the comments, and we'll get to that. So we could
yeah,
see, give the comments first, and we'll get to that moment. William Hathaway says good morning, and he asks about what were the feelings about the NFL draft so far, and why hasn't anyone picked up Sanders? You might want to scroll back. First couple minutes of the show, we'll have more details on that. But Jim,
yeah.
if you want to give
Well,
some
we did
comments,
cover that a little bit, William, but I appreciate your question and the fact that you've joined the show. And yeah, we covered that a little bit, but going forward, continue to join the show, and we thank you for your comment.
yeah. And the final comment is from Martin. He says the leads are weak, Jim.
Yeah. That's a reference to Glengarry Glen Ross, which is a very, very key line in the movie. They use it many, many times, but it had significant relevance. And without question, I knew Martin would absolutely get the reference. So thanks, Marty. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah.
And now we have some notable passings. Go for it,
Yeah.
Jim.
All right. And obviously, when we talked a little bit about it, Pope Francis passed away. We
Yep.
know he's been in ailing health for a while. So, yeah, that's, I guess, sad news. But, when, he was in failing health. So,
Yeah, I
um,
mean, and I believe a Cardinal Dolan, he said on today the timing could have been better. He passed away on Monday, the day after Easter.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. He was 88 years old.
yeah,
So, our thoughts go out to the Christian
communities.
community. Yeah.
Yes.
Couple other ones I had. Mike Patrick, who was Mike
Yeah.
Patrick was an outstanding broadcaster, and I guess you could attribute his resume. He was the voice of Sunday Night Football
Yes.
for
ESPN when I had it. Yeah.
yeah, for almost 18 years, and he played. He used to call the games with Paul McGuire and Joe Theismann. But I always enjoyed Mike Patrick. He was articulate, and he was 80 years old. But when you talk about ESPN guys,
You look at him.
longtime guys, can't talk about a list without putting him on. So
Absolutely.
that was a big loss. And Eli, one other thing. This was a sad story, but you could, when you think about the suffering that this guy done, Steve McMichael, and
Yeah.
it's been well documented. Hall of Fame player for the Chicago Bears, part of the vaunted '85 Bears defense,
Yeah.
considered the greatest of all time. Been battling ALS,
Yes.
also Lou Gehrig's disease for many, many years, and he was 67. And I saw the note that he was going into hospice care, so I knew the end was near, and it did come mercifully. But that was a very sad story to see. This big behemoth defensive tackle and what a disease can do to somebody way beyond their control. So he was only 67, but let him rest in peace.
All right. Well, I have nothing else.
Okay,
Jim, I know you want to bring something up, so
I do, and this is it's very personal for me. And when we look at the title of our show, which at some point will change because Eli is now the co-host of this show. But Mono and Mono, that was me, and that was my little brother. And I've brought him up on the show that he's had some medical issues, and right now we're going through another medical issue, and I just want, people to give their thoughts and prayers on a speedy recovery for Stephen. It's a very difficult thing. Sometimes you can question, why things like this happen. But our family has rallied around him and all of his friends. And you guys know who you are, the Jim Walshes and the Bobby O'Keefes and the guys that have called. But this isn't a good situation right now. But I just wanted to bring it up that people know who Steve is from watching the show, Eli, before you came on. And like I said, it's a heartbreaking thing to see. But this is where you got to test your faith, right? And just give thoughts and prayers to Steve. And like I said, hopefully he can come back and with us and be on our show at some point again. But I just wanted to bring that up. It's very important, very personal for me, and I'm wishing him all the best. So thank you all for the support that you've given him. And like I said, I don't want to end the show on a down note. I want to take this as a positive that all of the support and the prayers that he's getting will bring him back to where he once was. So
and William commented he's sending his prayers and thoughts to your family, and I am too. I'm very sorry to hear about that. We are all sending our thoughts and prayers. But on a brighter note, though, we had a phenomenal show today. We talked so much about the draft. We want to thank everybody for commenting and for watching live on the show. We had a lot of great listeners and a lot of viewers in today's show. So thank you all for tuning in and watching. And we're going to be back next week at 10 o'clock with the even bigger and better show. So we hope you join us then on Sports with Mono and Mono right here on YouTube. And you can also stream.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments, Eli. I really do. And like I said, it's a pleasure having you on the show each and every week as part of this is our show. This isn't
it is.
It's not Jim's show with Eli filling in. It's Jim and Eli's show. Yeah. And you're doing a great job. I'm proud of you that you're winding down your high school career and your collegiate career is coming. But that doesn't mean there's an end to Sports with Mono and Mono or Sports with Mono and Eli.
So this is it's been an honor, and I was just telling you about the behind the scenes on the show. Can't believe it's already 2 years is going to be in June, which is kind of scary.
Honestly, it seems like we were just talking.
We just met and we just did a show in St. Joe's, and we had all. It's amazing, it really is.
It is great. But thanks for joining us, and again, send us emails at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. And we love the comments during the show. And we look to have some more guests coming up. And everybody, enjoy your week. Enjoy the sports that's out there. And we'll see you guys next Saturday.
See you all next Saturday. Have a great day, everyone.
All right, Eli. You too.